Tell me where the idea came from. You and Matthew seem to have cooked this up.
Well, I had this, it's been knocking around for about 8 years, and I'd always wanted to be a detective. I love the genre, I've steeped in it, I've read hundreds of them. And I suppose I sort of put together a wish list of what I'd like to do. And the setting is very particular. Post-war, the post-war world, I think, is very under-examined. It's an extraordinary time. It's the most radical government we ever had. The world is totally smashed up, full of drifters and liars and people not knowing what to do themselves. People have been massively liberated by the war, particularly women. And I also wanted him to be a gay man in a lavender marriage and explore that. So it was a sort of strange shopping list of things to put into a detective story. And then when it was commissioned, I asked Matthew if he would write. He'd written an amazing book about the British film industry called Shepperton Babylon, an amazing book about London hotels during the war. And I said, could you write one about that and one about that?
The West End Front is the other book. So Matthew, tell me a bit about how you approach writing, because there's also, of course, the novels, aren't there?
Yes, well, this has ended up as a book, as well as a series, yes. But it's, I mean, as Mark says, some of what you will see in 3 and 4 and 4 and 5 is kind of quarried from my research. The worlds of it sort of are drawn from that. But it's such an extraordinary period to be writing a drama in, because not only have you got exactly what Mark has described, but the resources are so good as well. So as it kind of unfurls this story, there'll be lots of there are lots of events that are really kind of more or less, even though it's rather hard to believe sometimes, more or less true.
So real crimes or real incidents?
Some of the people who you'll meet are very close avatars for people in real life. There's a film critic character in episodes 3 and 4 who is a version of the film critic of Film Weekly, who was a friend of mine, who had been working since the 20s. Narina Shute, she was called. A version of her appears in the story. She's called Narina Bean, because I couldn't, it isn't her, it wasn't her. But it's a lot of it is drawn from her, and some of the kind of the oddest details or that you'll hear.
As I was saying, it's actually the truth is much more interesting.
Yeah, and there's no need to make something up if it's there on the record.
Polly, the character Trottie is such an intriguing presence, and I don't yet know what more we're going to find out about her story, but tell me a bit about what it was like playing her, how you approached her, how you think she works in the context of Bookish.
Well, I think she provides a sort of warm maternal sort of home from which Book, can solve the crimes. I think she's a very independent woman. I think it's a loving marriage, but it's obviously not a conventional one. She has her own sort of dalliances, and everybody's okay with that, but they have to protect, it was illegal in that time, so it was a marriage of convenience in a sense that it protected both of them. And she also wants to live an independent life. She's a free spirit. Yeah.
We meet one of Trottie's boyfriends later on. It doesn't go very well, but we do meet him.
Carolina, in directing it, I loved how you've evoked the sense of time and place. I know some of it was shot in Antwerp, some of the exteriors. Can you tell us a bit about how you brought the world of the books to life?
Well, yes, some of it was shot in Belgium, so trying to create 1946 London in Brussels and Antwerp was quite a challenge. But we have a brilliant team out there. Eagle Eye, we do a lot of work in Belgium. So it was a matter of sort of, finding locations that were of that period. And we were really lucky that there was quite a lot of locations that were actually derelict, that nobody used anymore. Like you'll see in episodes 3 and 4, there's a whole film studio that I used 5 different locations, and it all kind of looks like the Gainsborough studio, which is where Alfred Hitchcock made his films, and that was what I based it on. But it was, but Archangel Lane was the hardest, I think. I think it took us 3 months to find a road, a street that I could reface to be, and it was inspired by Cecil Court in Covent Garden, but to look like a street. And obviously you see the Admiral Duncan, and you see, Nelson's Column, and you see St Paul's at the other end, and that's all special effects. That's not real.
And you used a particular lens, didn't you, for some of these?
We did. We used some Cook from 1940, some really old glass that didn't match, and we mixed it mainly with anamorphic lenses, Orion anamorphic
Because
lenses.
the final shot in that first episode, when the char lady sitting there in our house, that looked like it had a great glow about it.
Yeah, and it's really kooky. So the camera that we used is a Sony Venice, and it really embraces natural light. So that's what gives it a sort of... We did loads of camera tests, but that's what gives it its filmic look, but also quite natural because of the way that the camera brings in light and the glass that we used.
Yeah.
I think everyone looks sinister. Even the goodies look sinister.
Joe, would you tell us a bit about how you've approached the whole series, you know, and the way you see the world of Bookish?
Well, I think the moment I met Mark at the Radio Times covers party, actually, I targeted him. And there was a sliding door moment where I said to him, is there anything that you really want to make or play? I've never actually asked anyone that, but I'm asking everyone that now. And he said, I really want to play a detective. And we, Walter and I, had already been talking about developing a series set in the 1940s. So right from the off, it really felt like it was fate with Mark, that this idea had to come to screen. And he came into the office, basically he sent me a script. He told me that he'd already been developing something. He sent me a script, he'd already got that. And he came into the office the very next day. So we looked at each other in the eye and we said, we're going to make this happen. And Mark had just such a very clear vision for the show. And so it was about sort of bringing that to fruition, really. And it happened very quickly in the end. Mark was starring in The Motive and the Cue, so writing took a little bit longer than normal Eagle Eye shows. But yeah, I mean, it's all about being an exec producer is about putting the right team together. And Mark was leading the writing, and obviously there's no one better than Mark to do that. And bringing Carolina on board as director was also key, and we'd worked with Carolina before. Belgium have fantastic crews, also great tax breaks. So it's about, so it was really just about putting the right team together. And all of us love casting. It's my favourite bit of the job. We had a great casting director. And Mark writes characters like nobody else. You know, I think
Nora, we were talking about Nora.
Yes,
Oh,
and he's got a real knack of coming up with sort of Dickensian names, memorable names. And I remember Walter and I were reading the script. We were only about 10 minutes in, actually. That bit about the bones tossed together like a skeletal salad. And we rang each other and said, oh my God, this script is amazing. So we knew it was going to happen. We just had to make it happen.
And Helen, tell us a bit about, I mean, I want to talk a bit more in detail about this series, but what's the commitment and what's the thinking about what might happen with Bookish?
Well, we at UK TV...
12 series.
I've been working on this ability to throw my voice. It's incredible. I mean, at UK TV, we're so massively proud of the show, and it's been such a joy to work on. And for you and Alibi, I mean, I only joined UK TV at the start of last year, and one of the first companies that I targeted was Joe and Walter, because I'd worked with them before, and they're wonderful people. And they did that really clever thing of going, we've got this thing in development, but we don't think it'll be right for you. And I was like, well, that's the one we want then. Okay, obviously. And any commissioner with their salt would be mad not to kind of go, oh my God, it's a Mark Gatiss passion project and it's something he really wants to do, and you'd be crazy to not take that seriously. We love it. We've already committed to series 2. So it's kind of like wonderful right now seeing all the buzz around series 1, but I think we're all mad excited about series 2 and already in that place. And you can just, there's a ensemble cast of characters in this show that you just want to spend time with, and they're so intriguing. But the real cleverness about the show is the fact that each crime story just feels like a lovely, delicious flavour in a box of chocolates. Each story is completely different with its own delicious flavour, and you get to carry on getting to know and hang out with the characters that you want to, and then you'll get something a little bit different with each story. So as I say, we've committed to series 2, but the potential for it is 12 series. I don't know. Who knows?
You were all witnesses. Someone mentioned Cecil Court, that street that was famous. I mean, there's still a few of those independent booksellers left. And the way that Gabriel Book remembers his stock, that felt very distinctive.
Is it based on a real thing? I was playing Charles I at Hampstead Theatre 12 or 13 years ago, and I wanted to buy an engraving of Cromwell for Howard Davis, the director. And I went, it's gone now, it was a print shop, and it was so eccentric. It was like piled high with just stray bits of paper, and run by this extraordinary lady. And I just innocently said, "Do you have a picture of Cromwell?" And she went, "Shh." 5 minutes. And she disappeared for 5 minutes, and she came back with it. And it was like a mind palace. She knew her way around the shop. It was amazing. And I thought, I'm having that. That's where it came from. And so that whole idea is that the shop is like a kind of analog computer, and that somewhere in all those books there's the answer to the crimes.
And the relationship with Trottie, it's sort of Watson and Sherlock relationship in that sense, isn't it? That you are an important part of the crime solving by the questions that
He's actually sexier than Martin Freeman, though. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I mean it's
a question for her.
I don't know, but you know what I mean. It's not a marriage of convenience, as Polly said. It's of mutual respect.
It's a marriage of minds.
Yeah, and they each have their strengths. Trottie is more the pragmatic one, and tries to kind of help him to focus and highlights it. And she has her strengths, and he sends her on missions and stuff like that. And I guess she's his sounding board and allows him to work things.
I think it's very important that Book isn't omniscient. Same with Sherlock. What Stephen and I did with Sherlock was go back to the stories and surprise people by showing that he was actually spectacularly ignorant about some things, because it's actually quite interesting. So what I try to do is make sure the book has a team around him who actually are doing other things.
Yeah, and Matthew, I mean, between the two of you, there's so many literary references, some of which are more obvious, some of which I suspect went right over my head. Tell me a bit about what you've enjoyed seeding in there. There must be some lovely little codes and...
Oh gosh,
messages.
well, there's nothing that's sort of hidden in a way, but there's certain kind of historical realities that are there. If you really want to know about, Albanian customary law, for instance, there's going to be a lot for you in episodes 5 and 6. But what I want to say about the relationship between Book and Trottie, Trottie's capacity for violence is great as well. Trottie is the fighter. Trottie is the one who knows how to handle a gun. So the division of labour is
and she's always got Book's back, so she's
There's a
you
lot
want her in the
of,
trenches.
there's a lot of lovely little sort of shoots being sent out in that first episode about everyone's backstory. Presumably we'll find out more over the course of the next episodes.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yes, and the Tim McInerney character with the eye patch is quite sinister. What can you tell us about him?
He's called D, like Dr. D, or maybe the letter D, or maybe, I don't know. I could do with a D, like Dorothy, D for Dorothy. Yes, we found, well, we'll see. There's lots of, you have to plant all these seeds and then let them grow, really. But the intriguing thing really is that it's a murder mystery, and that's the fundamental thing. That's why people are turning up. But I think you can do a lot with it, and that's what we try to do. Is make sure it's about a lot of other stuff, So there are lots of story arcs which will come to fruition. Yeah,
Caroline, I'm interested in how you shot it, because as I think it's clear watching it, it's not cosy crime in any kind of lazy way. It's much more than that. And the portrayal of violence feels really interesting. We haven't seen violence carried out so much yet, but there's some terrible things that have happened, clearly. How did you want to shoot that? What atmosphere did you feel?
Well, it was a dangerous time. People were walking around the streets with guns because they came back from war with guns, and being gay was really, really dangerous. So I think that when I first got the scripts, I was really keen not to keep it really warm, to make it really real, to make sure that we all fell in love with all the characters, but that there was an edgy side to it, that it was really true to its time. And so, yeah, I did bring in, you'll see loads of film references there. There's a lot of noir there.
Good, give us some of the examples.
Well, The Third Man, you can see lots of The Third Man in there. And I just felt, and there was some great films actually that I never knew about. They were actually shot at that time as well, and it was just some of the references, like when you see episodes 3 and 4, it's a film studio, so all the backdrops were really naff. You know, none of them looked really good, and it was badly lit, and so we kept really true to that and got.
It's an excuse.
But I made all the actors look gorgeous, obviously. So it was really, for me, it had to feel real, and it because when you've got something that's really clever and witty and funny, there is. I mean, we were all having so much fun shooting this. It was so great. We got carried away sometimes, I'd like to say. We were all giggling on stage and on set, you know, but to actually bring it back down and make the characters truthful and make everyone really care about it and really be scared sometimes for Trottie and Book, which you will see throughout the series and in season 2, that we do fear for them sometimes as well, because they live in a dangerous world.
I gave everyone a list of my favourite 40s films, and for tone, you know, and it was wonderful because it's lovely to spread it about, you know, but the tone I was looking for, my absolute favourite is a film called Green for Danger, Launder and Gilliat film, with Alistair Sim as Inspector Cockerell. And it's a very funny film. It's a black comedy, but it's also very frightening and quite weird at times. And I showed it to Polly.
Yes.
And
Yeah, you gave it to me, and I thought, oh God, I'm going to hate this, and I'm going to have to pretend, and it's going to be over my head, and everything. And I sat and watched it, and I was absolutely transfixed. It was a huge lesson in acting, because all the actors, you think, oh, from the 1940s, it's going to be arch and big and weird, but it was so naturalistic. It was such a kind of lesson in how to be. It was very natural, and and the language, how they spoke, I mean, you know, it's slightly heightened, and yeah, it was a brilliant film, and I loved it.
if you haven't seen it, watch it.
Yeah.
There's a couple of films
And
that
Hue and Cry as well. That was a real big one for me.
about the
look
children playing
on the bomb sites and all of that. I thought it was
Well, I always say, because
wonderful.
we couldn't afford it, we've got one great effect shot, but if you watch Hue and Cry, which was shot on location in 1946, London is like the surface of the moon, and it's a world you never really see because we can't afford it, but it's totally devastated. There's like one church and then rubble for miles, and children playing in bomb sites.
When it was my son's, I think, 8th birthday, we brought all his friends to see it at the BFI.
really?
We took them for pizza, and they loved it. It's the thing,
Yeah.
you know, they will watch black and white. One of the other films that, I can't remember what it was. There was a couple of other things that really stood out for me, just in the atmosphere of it. Well, even just the references to the plague in that first episode, that sense of layers of London. Was that always part of the thinking when you were working on it together, that it wasn't just about that moment in 1946, it's also the London that lies beneath?
Yes, I mean, it's London's best, isn't it? It's the best city in the world. But it's also about that world and what, you know, the whole thing with Book being a gay man, and the reason I think that the Sarah Vaughan's fantastic music kind of
The music
reflects
is so
it.
good.
But it's not period, it's sort of period, and there's a lot of, I'm going to use this word advisedly, fat synthesizers in it, PHA2, and I love those fat synths.
Yes.
It's a bit of techno in it. It's wonderful, but somehow it sort of reflects something about what we're trying to do with the show. You know, you say, look, this was a dangerous time. It's still a dangerous time. Here is London now. These people are the same. Like your kids going to see Hue and Cry, they're the same kids.
Yeah.
So you can recognise that. It's rather exciting.
The other film I realised it reminded me of was Let Him Have It, when there's a scene where all the boys have brought guns to school and Murray Melvin as the teacher gets them to put them all out on the table. It's amazing.
The law must take its course. Well, we both find really the biggest problem is trying to play fair with the audience.
Yes.
To
Yes.
make
You have
not
to be
to
able to
cheat.
solve it.
Yes, well, or sort of. But you have to, yeah. But you have to give the impression of being able to do it. But it's like the clue can't be too obvious and it can't be too obscure. It's very, very difficult. And sometimes it's only when you see it with people and you think, actually, that's more hidden than I thought, or that's blindingly obvious.
Yes.
And the other thing I keep coming across is motive. I was talking to someone, I was doing an interview the other day, and I said, genuinely, most murder could be avoided by people just not returning phone calls. It takes an awful lot to go, I'm going to kill them. I find that increasingly difficult.
What about you, Matthew?
Well, that's that's one of the most important things I think to kind of cultivate. And I think something that slightly took us by surprise actually is about how deeply felt everything is in the show, and how once you set those plots in motion, those motivations are powerful, aren't they? It turned out in a way to be a lot sadder in some ways. The characters carrying extraordinary sadness and passion. But I think, you know, in turning the what you've seen into prose. Now that presented the problem of, like, you know, you can hide something in a shot, you can hide something in the background, but you can't really do that in a paragraph. So you then have to kind of build a picture in which you can you can hide those clues.
For Doctor Who fans, Matthew has very excitingly done a novelisation of Bookish, which is not a target book, but it's the next best thing. I was there. I just read my diaries. Well, it's all about research, isn't it? Which is the best thing. But you know, and there's so much to draw on from there. I mean, it's just very interesting with lots of lovely details. There's something I got from Hope and Glory, that wonderful John Boorman film.
Yeah.
We painted the lampposts with black and white circles because they were done like that for the blackout. And obviously they're still there, probably still there today. But there's stuff like that, lovely little details you can discover. But it's really just about reading around it and trying to find out what was going on.
Well, there's mass observation diaries, any use?
Oh yeah, well there's absolutely, yes. But there's some of them are. It's a lot about class. You know, if you read Chips Cannon's diaries, it was very different for a man of his class than it was, especially to be a gay man. At that time, but I find it, you know, it's just endlessly intriguing. And as Matthew always says, the real details surprise you. You know, so yeah, sensibility it's a big thing, but also you're also working within the confines of the genre. So you're trying to keep an eye on the whole time on it being a murder mystery and keeping that going, and not getting too concerned with the overarching stories.
Did you want to add anything there, Matthew?
I was just going to say, I think a big plus for the show is that we're doing one crime story over 2 episodes, which allows us to do kind of really knotty crimes and clever crimes, and you know, that's been a real luxury for us, hasn't it?
Well, he's very much in the spirit of the gentleman amateur, like Lord Peter Wimsey, and Albert Campion, Gervais Fenn. It's that sort of one, and I was very, very determined that he would have a friendly relationship with the police, because I can't bear that thing where the detective solves it, and every week his boss goes, "You're a maverick. I'll give you one last chance." Like, what more do you want? I've solved all of your cases. But so the whole idea of the special letter and everything is to make the access easy, because he's not a policeman. So you want to just be able to go to the scene of the crime, otherwise it's loads of shoe leather, you know. But Sergeant Morris is my nemesis. He's on to me. And so you get the yin and yang, the good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, no, that's
And
But
you're best mates with Elliot Levy. And
Yes,
I think
Elliot.
The chemistry.
Elliot was my rider.
Yeah.
So I won't do it unless Elliot does it.
Yeah.
So what's the origin of that friendship with Elliot?
We were married once. Remember? It's something nefarious.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, well, London's full of them. And they're always, it's usually when tube extensions are happening.
I think they found a plague pit near my office about 15 years ago, and I have to say I was really worried because they did worry that the bacillus is still active. Yeah, you were very, very blasé about it.
Well, you haven't seen episode 2 yet. It's a short scene. We all die horribly of bubonic plague. I'm very careless. Shouldn't put my fingers in my mouth. No, they're very real. It's a very real thing. Yeah, they're always stumbling across them. Happily.
Happily for you and Matthew.
Certainly for me, there was a big revision I tried to make to the traditional structure of the whodunit in having the denouement scene where everybody gets together really early on, and I discovered that doesn't work. The idea was to produce the wrong idea. But actually, these plots have forces that you have to obey sometimes. That's my answer to that.
We made quite a few changes. We changed the murderer at least once.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Wow.
They are quite early, though. They always surprise me in part 2, how early they come in. Were they going to come in even earlier?
Yeah.
I think in terms of favourite scenes, I think one of the things that's so wonderful about this series is, yes, the complexity of the crime and the murders, but we haven't seen it in that episode so much, but the flashbacks and the personal story of Book and who Book is and all of the relationships that are going on that we're teasing just in this first episode to do with Jack and their backstory. There's such an emotional through line throughout the series, which I think really elevates it and gives it something very special. And I think some of the best TV is hugely entertaining, but also Trojan Horse is a bit of something important, and I think there is something important in this show. We've not really seen, I've never seen a lavender marriage portrayed on TV before. I've never seen really this kind of a gay man at a time when it was illegal to be so, this love story that comes out. I've just given a massive spoiler of a love story that's about to come out, but do you know that every scene, I think, in those flashbacks, it always surprised me just how emotional it is, and I've been moved to tears and I've watched it multiple times. So.
Mark Commode said it made him cry. I was very thrilled.
Oh my God. That's in series 1. That's definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good question. I think with this one, I'd love to say it was a no-brainer. We loved it as we were seeing it come through. You feel like it's going to land in such a way, hopefully, that people will love what we love about it as well. I think what I was saying about earlier about the potential, there's a distinctiveness to this show. I think it does that thing that you're always looking for, where it offers the audience what they want. It's familiar enough in that it's, there's a crime and there's nothing else like it. And actually that cleverness of doing something that's familiar but completely different in its own thing, I think is what makes Bookish so incredibly special. So that's why, wanting to do more of it and just seeing how it can grow and grow and build and build and build. And, that's a real pleasure, actually.
And a real shout out to UK TV, because it's so rare that a broadcaster will do that, but it makes such a difference to us, the production team and the cast. We're making shows on tight budgets, tight turnarounds. Mark's a genius. He's always in demand. He's only available for certain times. So actually, to be able to plan ahead and it's a very brave decision. But in another way, it's definitely the no-brainer decision if you want a second season.
You made it right off your own back, though.
I know. Look at all of these witnesses I have in front of me as well.
It's been filmed.
Yeah, I know.
Just before we finish, I just wonder if any of you, maybe particularly Matthew, Mark and Polly, would like to flag up anything to watch out for in the rest of the series. That's a great favourite moment.
Oh, gosh.
Wow. Well, I don't want to spoil or anything, but you heard that Mark Commode cried at it, and I think actually if you don't cry at certain parts of this, you are just dead inside. So that would be a way of finding out actually something important about yourself.
There's a lot to look forward to. Each story is quite distinctive. The second one's set in a film studio, third one in a big hotel in the Strand. We planned it so that it's very much the precinct, and then it slightly expands, and then they sort of go down the road. We're ultimately trying to get to Greece in series 12. It's important, I think, to keep it sort of within the confines without it becoming ridiculous that there's so many deaths, you know.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to look forward to. Amazing people: Jolie Richardson, Paul McGann.
I was going to ask some of the names now. Of course,
Yeah.
Daniel Mays, we've already seen, who I think is here tonight.
Is he?
It's like,
Yeah.
couldn't do a post-war drama without Daniel Mays.
Vera Drake's down the road.
And Polly, what about for you? I mean, we've already heard that there's some excitement in your private life.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, I mean, what Matthew was saying, there's a big sort of thing with your character that's pretty emotional. With me, it's a slow burn, I think. And I think in the second series, you'll discover more. But there's a lot to Trottie that you will discover in this first series that I can't give away.
We'll all have to watch it. So it starts on Wednesday, and you've all got to see it first. Congratulations, thank you so much, and thank you all for being here to share it.
Thank you.
Thank you.